Welcome back to the Innovative Agency, everybody. Sharon Toerek here with you again today, and really looking forward to delving into what I think is going to be a very interesting discussion, especially for all of you who are, well, I think on a number of levels. First of all, if you're responsible for revenue at your agency, and you're having a lot of conversations every day with either prospective new clients or your existing clients, or maybe if you lead an account team or you're in charge of maintaining the existing relationships that you have with your clients so that those convert into more business down the road. I think you're going to find today's conversation very enlightening. And we're going to talk about trust and how you build it, how you maintain it, and what it means to you and your bottom line, your profitability, and probably I'm guessing, although I'm going to get my guest's opinion on this today, probably your client and your employee happiness levels as well along the way. So, Ari Galper, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to digging in. Ari is an expert and one of the world's most foremost experts on trust building. And I think that, Ari, we're in such a crazy environment right now where I was just having this conversation with another agency expert and how trust is so feels so delicate at the moment because of all the bombardment that we're getting with AI created content, AI created marketing, the expectations of using these tools. And so, first of all, welcome. Thank you for
Thank you
being.
for having me here. Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Sharon.
What got you interested in the whole discipline and science around trust, building trust and trust-based selling?
Well, I had a personal experience that happened to me about 2 decades ago. It feels like yesterday, but you might relate to this, and so your owners of agencies. I used to be a sales manager in a software company, and I used to manage 18 people underneath me, and we launched the first online website data collection tools. Like it's now called Google Analytics, but we were kind of like analytics back then. We got bought out eventually. I left before that, unfortunately, but I was
Oh.
managing 18 folks before me. The big opportunities came across my desk, the big leads, and I got this one phone call one day from our website. I picked the phone up, and a gentleman was with a big, huge company. They had so many websites that if I closed this one sale, it would double the revenue in one transaction. That's how big it was. So he wanted a demo to see our product, so we agreed to that for Friday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll never forget this. The day finally came, I was so excited. Honestly, it was such a big opportunity. And so I went in the conference room with my CEO, closed door behind me. There's a big long conference table. And on the table was, remember the old school Polycon conference lines, conference
Yeah,
phones,
I
like
do. I absolutely do. Yeah.
Star Trek looking phones.
Uh-huh.
So I hit the speaker button and dial tone came up, dialed the phone number that he gave me, and he picks it up. Obviously, he's like, "Hey, Ari, how's it going?" Okay, great. He says to me, "Let us share with you who's with us here on the line today." I said, "Great." Next thing I hear is, "My name is Mike, I'm CEO." I was like, "Oh, wow, CEO, this is good." "My name is Julie, I'm head of global marketing." Perfect. "My name is Chris, I'm head of global IT." Amazing. Everybody on this call was a decision maker. If
Mhm.
it's going to happen, it's going to happen today. So
Yeah.
I introduced myself, explained what we did. I had them all log into a rudimentary webinar system back then and showed them live how to look at their stats on their websites because we put some tools on there and they can see it in real time. This is early days internet. So I'm showing this to them and I'm clicking through and I started hearing this noise on the phone call like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. They started asking me all kinds of questions. How does it work? How do we install it? How does tech work? They had all the right kinds of questions. I had all the answers. It was like a love fest on the phone, Sharon. You know what I'm talking about with the client?
Yes.
They got the questions. You got the answers. You're saying to yourself, oh my God, this is so good. No resistance.
Hmm.
Loving this. An hour goes by. They were so excited. My contact says to me, Ari, we love this. Give us a call a couple weeks, follow up with us, and we'll move this thing forward. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, thank you, God. I was like, what a dream come true. And I said my goodbyes. I took my hand, reached for the speakerphone, the speaker button on the phone, and I'm reaching for it to hit the off button. And by complete accident, I hit the mute button instead of the off button. And a small click happened and they thought I hung up the phone.
Oh no.
In that split second, a voice inside of me said, Ari, go to the dark side. Be a fly in the wall. Go where no one's ever gone before in the world of selling. So I pulled my thumb back first for a second. They started talking amongst themselves, thinking I had left the call.
Mm.
You would imagine what you were hoping you might hear. I was hoping to hear things like, hey, this is amazing. Let's get started. This is incredible. This is great. No problem. But let me share with you and your audience right now what I heard verbatim, word for word. That's why we're all here today. Here's what they
Mm.
said. They said, we're not going to go with him. Keep using him for more information and make sure we shop someplace else cheaper. Knife in heart twist. I was in a state of shock. I
Painful.
couldn't believe it. I gave my heart. I did everything. I gave value. I built a relationship. I did everything I was supposed to do by the sales gurus and the books. And here they felt comfortable not telling me the truth. I hit the off button. I lit the water and I said to myself, this is all wrong. Selling
Mhm.
has become a dysfunctional game of two players, a dysfunctional relationship. And I decided to myself, I'm going to untangle all this and create a whole new approach that makes it more healthy, functional, and comfortable for people to tell the truth to each other based on trust, not selling. So my whole premise, called Unlock the Sales Game for 2 decades now, has been this concept of letting go of the sale and only focus on trust building only. And by default, that creates more conversion that people want to hire you because they can sense that's not your agenda. So I built a whole body of work around this, a mindset, languaging, a process, and a model that we can talk about today. But that became the whole inertia behind this, what I call the trust movement I developed.
Oh my goodness, what a heart cruncher. I first of all, I have to say I totally would have taken advantage of the dark side too and listened in because when are you ever honestly going to get that opportunity to hear that unvarnished reaction, right? And I can't think of an agency owner listening to this who wouldn't want to actually hear what went on in the room or on the other side of the call, when that happened. But you took it and you turned the fire of your reaction from it into a path forward. And
It became my mission to help business owners who are struggling with the act of selling to stop selling their soul, stop doing free consulting, stop doing free education, and stop chasing people altogether. That was my mission, and I've been doing it ever since.
one of your sort of fundamental tenets is the concept of a recession of trust recession right now. Um, I feel this. I think a lot of business owners feel this, but talk a little bit about that point of view and where we are now, and how that feeds into our need to think about business development and sales differently.
Sure. So I do believe we're in this term called the trust recession, especially regarding buyer and seller. And here's what it looks like. I believe that we are in what it's called a commoditized economy, where we are being shopped by our buyers, right? They can go online, see your website, look at your social media, and go, okay, I'm looking for a lawyer, looking for a doctor, looking for an agency. To them, it all looks the same. They don't know what the difference between A and B is at all. They're just like in a shopping mall, shopping around for what they think that they want. So then
Mhm.
they meet with us, we get a lead inbound, and then we feel it's our obligation to educate them on how we're different, how we can help them. All right? Then they get all that education and they say to us at the end, great, I want to think about it.
Mhm.
And they were like, what? And then in the last stages, we end up chasing people, hoping to get a hold of them again to see if they're still interested. That's called the trust recession cycle that most owners are in right now that are chasing their leads, sending proposals, sending quotes, not getting calls back, and they're stuck in this loop because they feel it's their obligation to educate people as a way to differentiate and build trust. And my contention, which I'll make today, is education is not trust building. Free
Mhm.
consulting is not trust building. And relationship building in itself no longer applies pre-sale because relationships take a lot of time to create trust. You don't have a lot of time. So what I
Mhm.
have done is delineated trust building and relationship building as totally separate. Where relationship building is what you do after they're a client, not before they're a client. Before they're a client, you build trust with them only. And I've got a model for that, which we'll talk about. Once you see that in your mind and separate the two pieces, it becomes much easier to onboard somebody without chasing them.
Okay. So I know there's agency owners listening to this who are in an environment right now where sales cycles have gotten longer. Um, they, the margins of the work they do are feeling challenged, for lots of reasons. And so let's talk about the trust building process. Um,
Sure.
you know, a lot of the traditional business development cycle does involve some education, some insight sharing, there's even very aggressive practices with some potential clients of putting agencies through an RFP proposal, expecting them to come to the table with concepts, ideas, things like that. Tell the agency owners listening how they can do it differently, how they can walk through your process of trust building versus the way they're traditionally being cultured to sort of do business development.
Great question. At the highest level, the highest concept here is either you're in their process or they're in your process. If you don't have a process, you're subservient to whatever they want you to do. And when they say jump, we say how high. That's a
Mhm.
bad place to be. It's poor positioning. So our whole construct, our whole model is more of a doctor-patient metaphor, right? I'll give you an example. What's the first step you have to do to make it to see a doctor? First, you call, make an appointment, right? Then you schedule in your calendar an extra half an hour in case of traffic, just in case it's traffic. You drive to the doctor's office. You sit when you get in there. You sit there and you sit there, wait for your name to be called. Now, do you invoice them for your time? Oh no, that's not how it works. You comply. You're not happy, but you comply. Then you go into the office. They call your name. You feel relieved. You go in the office, the clinic. You sit in that cold chair, and the first thing they say to you is, "Where does it hurt?" Say my shoulder. Just let me take a look. Ah, let's a little sore. Let's get your X-ray. See what's going on. He gets the X-ray. Says, "Here's the problem you've got. You got this going on. You got that going on. You got that going on." You're like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize that, doctor." You write your prescription. You walk out the door. You go to the front desk, and you do one last thing. What do you do before you leave?
You make another appointment or you pay or both.
Hey, you pay the doctor not for solving your problem,
Yeah.
only for a clarity on how to solve it. The pharmacist dispenses the medicine, not the doctor.
Yeah.
I walked with that metaphor for a reason, because a lot of business owners at all levels think that they are the doctor and the pharmacist all in one.
Mm.
The medicine, share ideas, give insights, discuss problems, ask questions, and it's all one big hodgepodge. In the end, they wonder, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
Because in their mind, they didn't see it as a process. So once you understand that in your mind and you separate the two aspects of that, that now begins to segue into what we call our own system called the one call sale. That can compress your sales cycle from a long sales cycle down to a short sales cycle. And I've got a system and a model for that we can talk about.
Yeah. I'd love to do that. I want to talk though for a second or two before we do that about mindset. Um,
Sure.
it's very it's very well established that in an agency new business scenario
Yeah.
that brands are looking to work with agencies who they perceive as having some level of expertise, some level of focus, um, in their industry vertical or to problem solve their specific problem. And there's a lot of needing to fight past that sort of credential proving before you can even get to the process you're going to walk us through. So, how do you tweak your mindset as somebody who's responsible for the new business to walk your path and do your process versus the way that brands expect agencies to show up during a new business conversation?
Well, I'd expect, first of all, obviously, if you're in the business, you'd have the credibility, hopefully the expertise in the field that you're going after. I can't do that part of it. But assuming that that's there,
Yeah.
assuming you have the expertise and experience, okay? At some point in the process, you end up having an initial conversation with the brand or someone involved, okay?
Mhm.
That's where it all begins. it starts with a conversation with someone, whether it's a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or some initial conversation. Okay. That's the point in which you have to shift the conversation to the doctor-patient construct,
Hmm.
as opposed to, oh, we're looking for a few agencies. We know what we want, why we should go with you. Give us your proposal. That's we got to stop the whole thing right there. You have to
Hmm.
reshift it. So when they, I'll walk you through some of the languaging now. So when they,
Yeah.
when you have a first meeting with someone, okay, a new lead, and they show up for, say, a virtual meeting like this, first thing you say to them is this: nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. No chit chat, no social. How do you hear about us? Love your shoes. No rapport building, no relationship building at all. Just nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Next thing you're going to ask is this question, which is what I call above the iceberg. If it's okay with you, John, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment. Walk me through your background and situation up to your current challenge you have in terms of your social media, your advertising that you're trying to solve, and we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? Take your fingers like this over your mouth, like a doctor, sit back in your chair like that.
Hmm.
It's trained you not to do what? Don't talk. Don't engage. Don't create a relationship. See, we're so anchored in social connection that we feel it's our obligation for them to like us, to build a relationship with us. So we
Hmm.
engage, we chat, we go left and right, and we kind of have this great conversation. We're like, oh, okay, you want us to see, you got to start the process like the doctor with, I don't mean not be friendly, but I mean bedside manner and empathy, not relationship building. They don't want to become your friend. They don't even need to like you to trust you. They just have to feel, they just got to respect you. We have a hard time building that when we're playing the sales game. So
Right.
that's the first question you ask. You ask permission twice. If you wouldn't mind, take a step back, walk me with your background and whatever your challenges. Now, then they'll start talking. They'll start
Hmm.
telling you what's going on. Obviously, they will. As
Okay.
it's yeah,
All right. So get a download of the problem
yes,
as the client sees it, get their
correct.
perspective on the problem. What next?
Okay, so as they're downloading, the instinct of the owner, as they're hearing the problem, is going to be do what in the back of their mind?
Your wheels are turning and you're thinking about solutions.
Exactly, because we're solution centric. We start thinking, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh yeah, perfect. See, we're not being present. We're already going to the next step. That's the problem. They can pick that up from you a mile away, by the way. They can sense when you're not listening. Because we're so conditioned to move them forward, we have a hard time being present. But the whole key is just to listen, and then when you're done talking, just crystallize the core issue. That's it. Here's what you say. So what I'm hearing from you is your core issue is X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? And they go, exactly. Checkbox number one.
Mhm.
They're listening, not selling.
Okay.
That's gonna be hard for people because we're so conditioned to engage, create chemistry.
Yeah.
It's the wrong thing to do because they know it's can be fake. They're not looking for a friend. I know it's very contrarian, Sharon. It's the opposite of what we're taught to do. But let me share with you, when you do this right, it's incredible how flawless this is without resistance, and they'll agree to work with you to a next step on your process.
Yeah. All right. All right. What's the next step then? You get the download from them on what they see the problem is and
Yes.
maybe what they're looking for, and you're not thinking about solutions right now yet. So the agency is going to do what next?
Then
And
you crystallize the issue. They say yes, makes sense. Here's the
Mhm.
next question you're going to ask. It's called going down the iceberg. Next question is this: how long has this been concern for you for?
Okay.
Next question: what have you done so far up until now to attempt to resolve this? This is the doctor now, peeling the onion back, going deep inside the problem.
Hmm.
Next layer down is called COI, cost of inaction. What's it costing them not to solve it? It's reverse engineering the problem. So you might say, well, have you considered or are you aware of what the impact is to your business right now, up until now, by not addressing this? Have you calculated the loss of market share? Have you looked at the risk in terms of psychologically your team not being engaged? Have you calculated the impact as of now?
Hmm.
You're helping them see the gravity and the seriousness of the problem. because you're helping them build a business case with you to justify your fee. If you don't go there with people, they're going to trivialize it, treat you like a vendor, and make you jump through hoops.
Yeah.
And the last question you're going to ask is this one. Last question is this a priority for you? To address once and for all, to stop those losses and get this resolved as soon as possible.
And what are the kinds of things you're trying to hear with that last question? What are the
This
signals you're looking for?
cost of inaction, you mean?
Yeah.
You're trying to help them articulate the invisible or the gray area of the impact of the problem itself. They themselves have not articulated it themselves, because most businesses don't measure or discuss the losses or impact, only their wins. So you're going to take them to a space they haven't gone to before except with you, like a therapist and a patient. You're going to talk to them and say, well, have you considered or thought about the impact to the business right now in terms of what the losses are or the cost of this problem you've got? Have you done a business case around that?
And how deep should you dig to determine what kind of homework they've done on the impact? Because what if they just have an anecdotal sense that something's not going the way they want it to?
Most of them have done zero research, so you're right. It'll be, but you have to at least get a general sense of some economic number
Okay.
as far as the loss of the business by not solving it. Because otherwise, if you don't do that with them up front, they're not going to be able to justify your fee. There has to be an ROI on the first conversation.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's say they give you a download, and maybe you get lucky and they have actually done some critical thinking about what the impact or the cost is of the problem to them. What's your next step?
So then you say to them, is this a priority for you to address as soon as possible?
Right.
Always go like that with the finger. I know it sounds kind of crazy and weird, but you
Yeah.
got to.
For those of you who are listening only on audio, Ari is putting his chin in his hand like a professor while he listens to the reaction your prospective client's going to have to these questions. All right. So you sit back and you wait for them to tell you whether it's a priority, and hopefully
Correct.
give you an idea of urgency, right?
Correct. Now, that's about 80% of the process right there. If you just do that, you're a real winner. Okay, that's not easy because you have to dig deep inside their world, because our instinct is to talk about ourselves. Remember, so far you haven't said a word about yourself. What you do, where you're from, your business, your team, zero. It's not about you. It's about only their problem. It's problem-centric only, not solution-centric. Okay, now the next step from here is you quote onboard them using what I call a roadmap, which is a visual tool I created. It's left to right a process map, essentially, that shows them what your process is for how you solve their problem. Not your services, not your fees, not your team, not your credibility, but a visual process, a
Like your
framework.
discovery process. Your agent, most agencies would have a discovery process that they could
Of
share.
course they would. The problem with the most don't do is they verbalize it and talk about it, and it goes in one ear, out the other ear.
Yeah,
So it
some
has
people
no
are.
value.
Yeah.
You have to show it visually in a visual tool that shows them what your process is on that moment. So here's how you say it. After I say it's a priority, you say, would it be okay with you, as permission, if I can walk you through our roadmap process that shows you how we go about addressing your concerns? Would that be okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking permission every step of the way. So they're owning it. You're not selling it.
Right.
Stop selling. Trust building only. So they say, yeah, that'd be great. Because you showed them zero so far about yourself. You haven't said a word about yourself. They want to see something. Up comes the roadmap. Left to right, 5 circles, some bullet points. Phase 1 is from here, we do deep dive discovery. Then we analyze the data. Then we do a plan, proposal and a plan for you. Then we discuss the where we go from there. And then you lay out step by step what your process is. And they're looking at it, staring at your process visually, going, and they're following you as you're reading the bullets. Oh, right, yeah, oh, okay. At the end, you're going to say this. You're going to say, here's what you're not going to say. And don't ever use this phrase ever again as of today. Don't ever say, do you have any questions?
All right.
You say this instead. You say, what are your thoughts on the roadmap process? And they're going to go, makes sense. It's common sense. It's how you solve any complex problem.
All right.
It makes sense. Now you're in control. You're in there. They're in your process,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trusting you because you're not doing what every other agency under does, which is try to flex, educate, sell, promote, discuss your business. It's the opposite of everyone else, and that's how you differentiate.
Okay. So you've walked them visually through the next steps, including discovery, diagnostics, proposal setting. Um, but you don't take questions at that point in time. You get
No.
impressions. And then do you bounce off of whatever they communicate their impressions are? How do you react to the,
Yeah, so you say, what are your thoughts on the roadmap?
yeah.
And they might ask you a question or two or whatever, but typically they don't because it's common sense. But the seeing that gives them comfort, structure, and shows me you have a formula for success. They're not like a random person who will just hopefully do the good job. They can see around the corner in advance. That's what they want to trust you. They want to see your whole process in advance, not later on that first meeting.
All right.
Then you say to them this, you say, where would you like to go from here?
Okay. And what are the likely responses that you could expect to?
Typically, they always say this. If you do this the right way, they'll say this to you. They'll say, it's so predictable, it's so funny. They'll say to you, well, what's the next step? Like, what happens next from here?
Mhm. Okay.
Who's the controller? You're the doctor, they're the patient. You see? Your client's not the doctor. You are. You're the expert, not them. So then you say, from here, we'd schedule a time on our calendars to begin phase one, where we do a deep dive inside your world, look at your Google Analytics, look at your data, look at your spend, and really figure out where the gaps and the holes are. Then we'll kind of go for the next step from there. We'll go one step at a time. We can disengage anytime you want, but this is a process that we use to get, and here's my favorite phrase, to get it right the first time.
Love it. And is every phase of that process you've outlined visually to them something you envision the agency would be compensated for after the client has indicated their move ahead?
Right, right. So great question. So I've got a lot of clients who are mostly low volume, high margin. They don't need a lot of clients that have a great year, like one or two or three or a month. They're like ecstatic. Okay, so every single conversation counts. They can't afford to even lose one. So here's how you language a fee model. So I've got financial advisors, I've got agency, a lot of folks want to charge a fee, which they should. Why do it for free? To engage. And here's how you say it. It's really nice. You say, you say, where would you like to go from here? They go, what's the next step? How do you work from here, Sharon? You go, here's how you say. It's really simple from here. There's a nominal one-time fee of only 1K, whatever. Don't ever use the word thousands ever again. That's the worst word I ever used. Only use the letter K. 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, whatever you want to charge. I'll just say 1K for now. It's a nominal one-time fee of only 1K. That's it. To have us do all the work you can see in front of you that includes all of phase one, all of phase two involved, and that'll be credit if we work together beyond that towards the project. That will engage us to spend our time and effort and our team and intellectual property to do a deep dive inside your world and help you see things you can't see on your own. It's as simple as that.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody listening is taking notes here because this is what you all excel at, which is thinking ahead about expressing ideas, solutions. But I agree, and I'm guilty of it in my own business as well. We're a professional service firm, and the temptation is strong to, to start sort of spitballing on solutions when you're having that initial conversation with a prospective client. So, all right, so you present to them what their investment will be for you to execute on the process that you've visualized for them.
The nominal fee, no investment, just nominal fee. Yeah.
Nominal fee, Ks only, no thousands. Got
That's exactly.
it. All right, so they say, sounds good.
And what you do is the most important part of all. Write this down, everyone. Schedule them on your calendar. Not let them go.
Okay.
Don't say next week. Send me an email. No. Here's what you say. If you'd be open to it, we can schedule time right now on our calendars to avoid us chasing each other back and forth. Because we're busy just like you. Would that be okay with you? Now, if they say no to that, hang up the phone and never talk to them ever again. Because they'll be the worst clients in the world.
Yeah.
Walk away.
Yeah. Interesting.
I just simplified the complexity of the model everyone's doing, which is messing everything up, to make it so simple and easy for them to say, yes, let's do this.
I'm hearing the smarts and the efficiency and all this, but as you've developed this and as you've helped your clients deploy it, tell me about how and why this actually heightens trust. How is this increasing trust between the agency and the prospective client?
Because you're not doing any selling behaviors that they've heard 1,000 times from every other agency they spoke with that last week. Every agency has the same sales process that commoditizes them. It doesn't differentiate them. What the big idea is this: the way to differentiate in a commoditized economy is not based upon your services. You can't. It's impossible. Only based upon your approach. Your approach itself has to be so unique. They're buying your process, not buying your services first.
Okay. Is there any room in this process for discussing differentiation or capabilities of the agency? I know we're not talking about discussing solutions, but if an agency has a high degree of expertise in a particular industry vertical or executing a particular type of marketing strategy, what's the right time for them to inject those credentials or that expertise early on in the conversation with a prospective client?
That should have been done before the conversation, not during the conversation. What
Okay.
that means is your audience needs to have what I call a trust asset. A trust asset is something that the leads get in the mail, not digital, physically in the mail before the actual conversation. A physical book, for instance, to become an authority as author. A little book you might create or write that distinguishes you, implies your expertise, and discusses their problems. They have to get that in the mail before your first call to remove you having to ever talk about yourself or sell yourself ever again.
Interesting. So the credentials come before you've even spent/wasted the time on the conversation. Okay.
It's process oriented, correct?
Okay. All right. So you've done that. You've had the conversation. You've visually walked through what your process would be for looking at their situation after they've articulated some things to you about urgency, prioritization, cost to them. Um, you've gotten a date on the calendar, ideally.
Awesome.
What happens next? What happens next?
Well, obviously, what you do is you may have a checklist or something that you need from them in advance, data, statistics, logins, whatever you all do. But you give them a checklist of what they need, and then you schedule that, and then hopefully they show up, and then you start your process from there. The rest is what I call onboarding. You onboard them into your world. My job is only pre-sale. I help business owners get clients to agree to work with you. The rest is up to the owner to do what they do best.
Got it. All right. So I want to talk for a moment about, since your expertise is in trust-based selling and in trust building, and since we're in a trust deficit economy, I just want to share quickly an anecdote and then ask you for your point of view about this. I travel to a lot of conferences where agency owners congregate, and at a couple of them recently, obviously AI is a heavily discussed topic, lots of speakers, lots of sessions. But one of the ones that has been most riveting to me is where you pit AI versus humans in terms of strategy development, brief creating, and even though we as humans cannot always tell the difference between the work product of something that's 100% AI generated and work product that is human generated, if we know it's AI generated, we don't trust it. I mean, that's been the anecdotal experience at these live events I've been to. That's what the statistics say so far. So I guess I'm saying that to set up the question like this. Trust is getting harder and harder to come by. How are you evolving sort of your ideas around either addressing the sales process or addressing business development vis-a-vis the fact that trust is sort of it's fraying around the edges? How do we evolve? Um, are you seeing that tactics are going to need to change, or that we're going to need to think differently about the way we do business development because of the fact that so much content, so much work product is going to be now AI created, and we don't know whether or not to trust it?
Funny you should mention that. I just published a new book called The Rise of AI and the Decline of Trust
Yeah.
on this exact topic.
Yep.
Okay. And the big theme and message in this, it might be a bit shocking, is that business owners and humans need to learn how to build trust with other humans to win the game. They don't have the skills. I just told you those skills. They don't, that's the missing gap. They're leaning over to AI going, what do I do with AI? Oh my God, it's all. No, 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 no. You're the problem. You have to learn a new skill called trust building, not relationship building. You learn that, it's game over. Who cares about AI? It's you and a human trusting you to hire you.
Mm.
I know it sounds nuts, but because we assume, oh, we're human, we get along really well.
No, to me it sounds hopeful, actually. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm intimidated by that in the least, and I think that
it's,
those, yeah, I think people who are looking at ways to differentiate themselves will find that to be welcome news as well.
the only way to differentiate in the age of AI, only one way, and that is to lean into how to add trust into your business model to distinguish it as unique,
Yeah,
because that in itself is a special, unique skill.
yeah, I agree. Talk a little bit about, if you will, you put a sort of a dichotomy in between trust building and relationship building. Explain how the two are different and when each is important at what stage of your relationship with a client or a customer.
Very good. Okay, so well, like I said earlier, relationship building is what you do after they're a client, not before they're a client. Here's why. Real, honest relationships, authentic ones, take a lot of time to create months, years, days, weeks.
Mhm.
At the end of that, you might get trust, yes. But our world is now in the nanosecond model. It's not in the long relationship model. Meaning you have one opportunity in one window of time, which is only that first conversation. My theory is the sales lost or made at the beginning of the process and not the end. It's too late by then. So you have to compress and realize the cycle's being compressed. So trust building is what you can create with someone without a relationship
Interesting.
because they don't want a relationship with you pre-sale. Yet we are trying to build a relationship with them. They know it's fake, it's uncomfortable, it's awkward. I just met you. I don't want to become your friend. I want you to solve my problem. But we're so conditioned to go the wrong direction, we mess the whole thing up ourselves.
Right. And that is so interesting because we're trying to build authenticity, but we're actually destroying it by trying to build a relationship too quickly. Yeah.
Authenticity is not built on relationships, it's built on trust. They're two different concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
That's the core issue of why most business owners struggle with business development because they've been conditioned over the years to believe their job is to reach out and build a relationship with people, which is not your job. Doctors, when you see them, they don't try to have lunch with you first, have coffee with you, get to love your shoes, let's have be friends. They don't do any of that. They just say to you, what hurts? So you
Yeah.
got to shift to that model to get this right.
Okay. So, and trust is not the same as credibility either.
Now, credibility
It's
Here
what
it
gets
comes.
them to your door.
Credibility in itself has been commoditized. That doesn't even get you in the door anymore because everyone's got the same resume, the same credibility, the same logos on their website. The differentiator to get in the door is called authority,
Yeah.
not credibility. Authority is you're not a peer anymore. You're positioned as the authority over them, like the doctor-patient relationship.
Yeah.
To become an authority, you have to be an author of a trust asset that sells you prior to them talking to you.
Yeah.
Then you're positioned well to onboard them for that first meeting.
Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Martin's work, but he says trust is, you might trust your mom or your grandma, but that doesn't mean you're going to let them, do your x-ray or your marketing campaign because they don't have the credibility that they need in order to do that particular thing. So this is fascinating. And it's liberating too, because I like conversations that are implementable by agencies at any phase of their journey, any size. And you've laid out I'm not saying they're easy, but I am suggesting they're straightforward and clear steps to trust building that will, I think, take a lot of pressure off of people in the sales cycle.
Oh, it's you. It's cathartic.
Yeah,
You're off the hook. The burden of you attempting to persuade, engage is over. You can let it all go.
yeah, yeah. How do you counsel your clients who want help or assistance determining how to price the sort of, I'm calling it the discovery process, but the execution of the process that they visualize to them? How should they be thinking about how to make themselves whole, or at least, cover their cost
You,
in
you,
that
you,
part of the
you
process?
you do what's called customized pricing.
Okay.
You adjust your fee based upon the size of the business. So they're big corporate, could be 15, 25K. If they're a small business, a plumber has got 5 trucks, might be 2K, 1K.
So you're
You just
pricing the client,
Yeah, you
not,
adjust it based upon the ROI, the opportunity, the losses. That's the why I said earlier on, cost of inaction. If they tell you we're losing 50K a month on this because we have no advertising in Facebook, well then 15K won't make a difference. Your fee is irrelevant because they're losing more than your fee.
okay. What do you do with or about a client who can articulate impact but can't put it in financial terms for you?
Right. So that's our job. Our job is to say, on a wide range level, to what you don't have to say that necessarily a number, but to what extent is this impacting your business right now by not having X in place?
Right.
Have you thought about that, Jim? They'll probably go, "Oh, not really, no." Well, let's talk about that. Well, why ask me all this questions, Sharon? Because we have to build a business case with our clients first before we even work with them. So let's talk for, if you wouldn't mind for a moment, just let me get a sense of the landscape of what you cannot do now because of X. You got to be bold. They got to see who's in charge. Either if you're not in charge, you're history.
Yeah.
Throw you off the edge in 3 seconds. So you're in charge by asking them questions of insightful questions that show them gaps they themselves have not even considered.
Interesting.
That makes you a genius.
Yeah, well, and a genius who's not expecting an ROI on their genius during that conversation.
That tells them very clearly you're not here for the sale.
Right.
You're here to build a business case for the problem.
Got it. All right, so I'm hearing some great takeaways. First of all, think about the scripting of the steps, the questions you need to ask in the right order. You need a visualization tool. You need an authority building tool to get them to you first. And then you need an idea about how to actually price the implementation of walking them through the discovery. And then what happens after that depends upon what their problem is and what your services are and your solution.
There's one more tip I'll share with your audience.
I'd
This
love
is
it.
okay. I'm going to ask all of your audience to remove one key phrase forever from the vocabulary as of today, never use it again the rest of your lives.
All
Okay?
right.
This might hurt just a bit. I'm going to ask all your audience to never again use the phrase follow up ever again.
Interesting.
Don't use
Wow.
an email. Don't call, because what's the only industry that uses the word follow up? Salespeople. Hi, I'm calling to follow up on a proposal. Follow up is a sales word. That's the worst word to ever use in your process because that sends the message you're trying to move them forward towards a sale.
Okay. So what should we do
Place,
instead?
place that phrase with this one, and here it is. I'm just giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on our proposal, any feedback on the previous meeting, any feedback on the data. Feedback's going backwards, away from the sale, not towards it. That removes the pressure and that elicits the truth. That's your goal. Your goal is languaging that's not sales oriented, but truth based. They feel comfortable being honest with you from the beginning. That's where my story loops back from the beginning. That's why I'm so obsessed with getting the truth to people earlier on.
Right, right. Wow. Well, this has been very eye-opening, very implementable. Um, Not really contrarian, only contrarian from the sense that it is different from the way that a lot of agencies, who are very well-meaning in their current processes, are trying to be helpful. They're trying to position themselves as helpers. But I do think that they give too much of themselves away too soon. And so the idea is to be trustworthy, be authentic, be helpful, but be profitable and be smart about it too.
Well, your heart can be in the right place, but your process can be wrong.
Right. That's true.
That's the problem most owners have right now. They want to give, they're passionate about what they do, they're heart centered, but their process is archaic and from the old days. Doesn't apply to the new economy.
Right. Wow. Well, Ari Galper, this has been a fascinating conversation. I would love for you to let us know where agencies can find out more about your work, reach out to you, learn more about how you help.
The simplest way is I just launched a new book called The Trust in a Split Second. And it's all about this concept today. And you can get a free copy at thetrustbook.com. We'll physically mail it to you in the mail, no digital. We'll put a stamp on the envelope. We'll mail it to your office. You can read it yourself. And when you order, you have a chance as well to have a chat with us on the way out on the checkout page. You can schedule a time if you want to talk with us, up to you. But happy to give you a copy for free, thetrustbook.com. That's the entry point into our world.
Wonderful. And we'll drop a link to that in the show notes as well. So, Ari Galper, Trust-Based Selling, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your expertise with us. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Sharon.
My pleasure. And we'll talk with the rest of you on the next episode. Thanks everybody for joining us. And until next time, stay well.